Tesla's continuing its winning streak as we start the year this January. First, with Elon Musk making and winning the bet of the ages, now featuring front and center with the new government, we continue to see top executives now making amends and playing ball with Elon. Longtime enemies, looks like JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon in an interview is now saying that he and Elon have hugged it out and he thinks Elon is our next Einstein. We also see Jeff Bezos hanging with Elon at the inauguration. They started to follow each other again on X last month and have been sending nice messages back and forth. Second, Piper Sandler has raised their price target to $500, a massive jump from $315 for the very first time, citing Tesla's real-world AI and robotaxi as the reason. Dan Ives also raised his price target again to $550. Third, Tesla has raised prices in Canada by at least a whopping $4,000 per vehicle across the board, and a new version of FSD is rolling out. We've got Larry Goldberg joining us. Larry's one of the best when he follows all this. He's quite aware of all these nuances of what's happening. Thank you so much, Larry.
Thanks, Herbert. I'm traveling, so I don't know how much of the nuance I'm picking up right now.
Okay, well, let's see. We'll see. We'll test you, but I have a feeling you know quite a bit. Let's start off with this one. This is JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon. Of course, JP Morgan filed a lawsuit against Elon and Tesla filed a lawsuit back. And then now they've been fighting each other, but it looks like they've made amends. And of course, maybe because Elon is now a big deal in the government, Jamie Dimon needs to play ball. Here's what he said.
And what Elon Musk is doing. You've had a frenemy, complicated relationship with Elon Musk over the years, given lawsuits and other things back and forth. What do you think of his role in all of this, and what do you think Doge can actually do?
Elon and I have hugged it out.
You've hugged it out?
Yeah, he came to one of our conferences. He and I had a nice long chat. We've settled some of our differences. And the guy, you got to look at Elon. SpaceX, Tesla, Neuralink. The guy is our Einstein. And so and I like to be helpful to him.
Okay. Why is this important? And why is their relationship important?
Jamie Dimon, by the way, is one of my heroes. I have a huge respect for the guy. And look, JP Morgan Chase were clients of mine, and I have enormous respect for their technology skills. They are a technology powerhouse. They have more people than many of the major software houses have in technology. So this is important. Look, JP Morgan Chase is the financial giant in our country and in the world. And this is the kind of power that that the Musk enterprises are they're absolutely going to have to work with because there are almost no elements of the economy where there isn't an intersect between what Tesla, what SpaceX, what Neuralink, what all the Musk enterprises, particularly XAI and X, are going to intersect with major financial houses. And Jamie Dimon, in his own way, is a bit of a visionary. He really created that company. You talk about founders, and it's very hard to talk about a founder of a bank that had its birth at the time of the birth of our country. But actually he is, because he cobbled together what became JP Morgan Chase out of multiple different banks, and he's been incredibly successful in doing that. So I regard it as very important that they not only make friends, but they work together. So I'm very, very pleased by it. By the way, I don't often say this, but I think Jamie Dimon is wrong. I don't think Elon is our Einstein. I really believe Elon is our Edison and our Tesla. He is the combination of the great discoverers, the great inventors and visionaries of last century and the previous century, the 19th and the 20th century. And he combines with that the brilliant engineering skills of an Islamabad. So, Elon is a combination of many things. I don't think he's an Einstein, because theoretical physics is not really his bag, although he is a physicist in many respects. But
that's a very good point. Yeah,
I'll take what Jamie says. I'll take what Jamie says.
Yeah. So it's good that he's making more partnerships, more friends, just another potential source for big money when he wants to raise something. But he's created enemies, he's created friends, but because he won this game at this point, or he's really big part of the government, they're all coming out of the woodworks. And I guess more friends are good. So that's Jamie Dimon, and here's another one, which is Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos and Elon were trading barbs against each other. They're both multi-billionaires, and they both have their own space companies. Yeah. And this was in 2004, but since then they've had a falling out. But now, this is at the inauguration. Elon showed up with, of course, by his side, all the richest men in the world, richest people in the world. And here's an example. If you want to take a look at their relationship, you can see here that let me pause it for a second. That's Ivanka Trump in the middle. That's Lauren Sanchez, the wife of Jeff Bezos, and that's Sharon Civis, who is the father or the mother of his children, but also the executive at Neuralink. And you can see here, oh, did I miss that part? Yeah, where they actually hugged each other. So Jeff Bezos is talking to Siobhan, and then there, yeah. I mean, you don't do that with Lauren, his wife, if you don't have a good relationship. So
they're famously frenemies. I mean, that lunch that you showed didn't go as well as it looks in that photograph, to be honest.
Yeah.
They had some differences, and Elon had some acerbic words after it. But, Jeff Bezos has proven himself. I mean, it's taken a while for Blue Origin to reach orbit, a long while to reach orbit. They have a different approach to SpaceX. But they have reached orbit now, and but this is a very important relationship because AWS and Amazon are very, very big players in the AI space. Very big players in the AI space. They have scale, and there's a whole lot those two could do together or could achieve together, both in space but also in particular in building out, infrastructure and AI.
One of the stories we will do that we'll publish on Monday morning is Stargate, who is partnered with, surprisingly, Oracle and NVIDIA, and SoftBank is funding them $500 billion to build the largest AI supercomputers out there. So this might, force Elon to partner with Amazon. And beyond that, Amazon could also be, robots, partnership with robots. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, I have a specific perspective on Stargate and on these $500 billion being spent.
Save it to the next show.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it in our next show. Yeah. Okay. So let's just continue with Jeff Bezos. Elon started following him again on December last month. And, over the month, they've been trading good messages with each other. Godspeed, thank you. These are just small little back and forth with each other. So, he's become friends with Jeff Bezos. He had a fight with Mark Zuckerberg. Now they've become friends again, or at least I don't know if you call them friends, but at least they were friendly. And then there's Larry Ellison, who's always been one of his best friends.
Very long time.
Obviously, his fights with Larry Page, fights with Bill Gates, all these other guys probably not there. But, how important is it for him to,
I would predict that Elon will be friendly with all of these people on this page with one exception. I think Bill Gates is the great exception.
Bill Gates, gotcha. Yeah, he doesn't have respect for Bill Gates. Yeah.
I don't think he's easily going to ever forgive Bill Gates.
Yeah,
and frankly, neither would I. I mean, that's unforgivable. That's really unforgivable. Why Bill Gates, who's supposedly giving all this money to charity, who's supposedly doing all these good works, why is he short selling anybody,
Tesla.
let alone Tesla?
In big dollars too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when he short sells, I mean, it's in really big numbers. And I don't understand the point of it. I just don't get it.
So do you agree that in general, this connection with the government is very good for Tesla? and that he's now establishing relationships again with people. Like, did he create more enemies or did he create more friends?
I think this period of enemies and friendships created over political perspectives are going to pass.
Okay.
I think we will be beyond this. In another 5 and 6 years, we'll look back and say, were we all fevered? Were we all crazy? So, I take a long view on these things. As you know, I don't think about what happened yesterday or what's going to happen tomorrow. And so I'm a little bit less, I place a little bit less stress on all of this. I think over time, this terrible political situation that we find ourselves in will moderate. I remember very similar times with Goldwater and Reagan. I remember similar times when, when there was the Nixon-Kennedy fracas. I've seen it over many years, and I think all of this will moderate. I'm definitely hoping it will moderate, and I live to see it. But it is for the moment extremely important, because the previous administration was getting extremely active in terms of using political power. I mean, judicial power, actually, or legal power, to confront its enemies or its perceived enemies. And so I think that was reaching a point where we really had to turn that corner. And I think this has turned the corner. Now, has he created a lot of enemies? Yes. Yeah. Has he caused some people to say, yeah, I'm never going to touch another Tesla. I'm going to sell all my... I saw a post by somebody to say they were going to sell all their Teslas.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll pass and it'll have some effect. But on the other hand, he's probably going to win a whole new customer base, and particularly in the West and in the South, where trucks are pervasive. And so hopefully this will get Cybertruck another look.
Okay. So second, we've been seeing more and more institutional analysts in recognizing Tesla, raising their price targets. It's continued. So now we're going to talk about Piper Sandler. We're going to talk about Dan Ives. So this is just, the story of the Tesla story, and then us being ahead, retail investors.
Yeah.
And then we see these guys finally start saying the same words, starting to raise the prices, starting to recognize the story, and it's continuing on. So we've got Piper Sandler here lifting Tesla's price target to $500. Now look at this jump from $315 to $500. Yeah. It's a massive jump, and continues to say it's an overweight rating. The firm, again, says for the first time Tesla's potential in real-world artificial intelligence. They finally said it. As a result, portfolio managers are more willing to entertain upside scenarios. That's what the analysts told investors in their research note. Long-term narrative often takes a backseat when current year estimates are falling, and in this regard, the outlook is highly uncertain for Tesla. Once Tesla fulfills its current launch pipeline, management's focus will shift away from launching new cars to popularizing full self-driving. It values existing business. So it values Tesla's existing business just below $300 per share, inclusive of full self-driving. And it is again, it's really about, here again, they talk about the bot, which is great to finally hear an analyst actually mention the bot, and neural net training. So he thinks that the first half of 2025 may be choppy. So that stock remains a top buy and hold idea. So yeah, comments on that?
Yeah, I'm very pleased to see this widespread acceptance of the AI, real world AI skill set and infrastructure that Tesla is and has built and is continuing to build. It's taken a while for it to happen, but I've got a general view on this, and the general view is a huge number of technology startups are not coming to the open market, into the public markets. And why are they not coming to the public markets? Because analysts in the public markets are not geared to look at innovation, to look at the kinds of things that Elon is doing, with real world AI. They're just beginning to catch up now, but we were there a year ago. They're not ready to look at Optimus yet. we're already there, and they'll catch up with it, and they'll make a definite change. But we have a window into that in Gary Black tells us how he sees and perceives the valuation. And while he may be a little bit behind some of these analysts that are coming out now, he's reflecting the kind of Wall Street view. And so that's one of the reasons why many of these huge unicorn, gigantic companies are not going public, because they don't want to go public with, tomorrow's technology, with the kind of analysts we have on Wall Street today, and the kind of markets that, are institutional markets. They're not prepared to look at the future of innovation. There's ARC, there's a few others, but very few.
So I actually just want to explain a little bit about Gary Black and Dan Ives, right? So I had Dan Ives on the show with Gary Black. I had them, the two of them together in the same show, and they explained how they both see things. So I disagree with what you said about how Gary Black gives us an insight of how analysts think. He's not the general analyst. Right now, most institutional analysts have now pricing in something for what they think is happening with robotaxi and bots, at least a little bit. Dan Ives gives a lot because he calls it the sum of the parts. Gary's so very, very stubborn, and he says, I will not include autonomy or bots until it becomes a product, until they tell me what the price is, what the, everything. I want to see the whole business case. I want it to be sold as a product first before I will even price it at all.
That's the same point.
That's not the truth. It's not true though, because
look, you're going to have...
The rest of the analysts are giving it some value.
Half a dozen of the analysts. And they're coming to the table now. So there's Morgan Stanley, there's Piper Sandler. There are several of them. But if you look at 30 analysts, you're only going to find the top 20% that are following Dan Ives along the path of recognizing the future. The other 75%, and more importantly, it's not just the analysts, the public analysts, it's really the analysts within the funds themselves, the fund managers, the portfolio managers.
The buy
That's
side,
thinking I'm talking about.
Okay. That's true. Good point. Okay, so Dan Ives, this is what he's saying now. Of course, he's raised his price target to from 515 to 550, growing confidence in the demand delivery story for 2025, along with fast tracking of autonomous features. So he just keeps raising his prices. I don't think he says much more here, except that the bull case is still 3,650, and he clarified that that does not include robots yet. So, but he's a big, big believer in autonomy and Tesla's role in that. What's your thoughts on Dan?
Dan's the man. I'm telling you. I mean, he's been ahead of the market. He was calling it earlier in 2024 when the stock was really being beat down. He was calling it then. He was a little bit more cautious earlier in the year than he became later in the year, but he's seen it all along. He's a lot more adventurous than many of the analysts, and he's staying out ahead. He's keeping his nose ahead of the group. So I think he has a very, very high level of conviction, and it's the same conviction as I have. So I can't criticize it, and it's very brave. It's it's courage.
Yeah.
It's courage.
It's great. Yeah, I like it. He's the analyst that has the highest price target for Tesla, and so like you said, he leads the pack. He said he knows this. He knows we have conservatively accounted for no value for Tesla's humanoid robot Optimus, but it could become a major upside catalyst for the Tesla story. Right. So he's just waiting before he'll say, I'll put it in. But as long as he puts in AI and he puts in FSD, I'm fine with that. They predict the penetration of Tesla's full self-driving will exceed 50%. Thank you. I mean, it's ridiculous when somebody says FSD, the $8,000 a month, $8,000 one time or $200 a month is only going to be 15%, 20%, 30%. No, once it gets really good, it's going to be over 50%. So at least they model that.
Herbert, it is really good. It is really good.
FSD is really good. Yeah.
It's going from space to parking space right now. It's incredibly good. I've driven in about 1,000 miles in the last 4 or 5 days, and honestly, it's amazing.
Okay, so Next segment here, Tesla has announced that next week, all models in Canada, all vehicles will get huge price increases. We're talking 4,000 for Model 3s, Ys, and S, X, all trims. Model 3 could even go up $9,000. This is pretty massive. So again, it's a price hike, not a price cut. And some people are saying that this is because it could be because one, the Canadian dollar has been very weak. Tesla's not making a lot of margin. Two, it could be in preparation for new tariffs, maybe battery tariffs. And three, some people are saying, well, maybe it's like, you need to separate out when the new vehicles come with the new, more affordable vehicles, you can have a more of a separation. What's your thinking of why they did this?
I can't divine. I mean, we're in a very, very fluid situation, as far as our relationship with Canada is concerned, a very fluid situation in relation to models, new models, a very fluid situation in relation to, Tesla's strategy going forward. You're asking me to opine with any degree of confidence. I can't do it. We're going to see some really, really tough conversations between Canada and the United States. And Canada is in the midst of a political crisis. They don't have a legitimate government at the moment. I don't know. It's going to be a tough couple of months there.
Don't you find it funny how whenever Tesla reduces the prices, cuts prices, you will get analysts coming out there. You'll get Tesla Q coming out there. Oh my God, that means there's no demand. Demand's falling. Nobody wants Tesla cars anymore. They're going to revise their price targets because they reduced it by $2,000. Now that we see that they raised it by $4,000, are we going to see them say anything? Now, okay, just to be clear, Canada is a very small market. This isn't going to be material, but it's even if it was announced the opposite way, they cut Canada, all the vehicles in Canada by $2,000. Trust me, even though it's a small market, they will completely say that it's $2,000 across. They'll revise it.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. We'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know that we won't see the same price increases here. In a relatively short period of time. It's quite possible.
Okay. You're the first one I said that. Most people I've talked to don't agree that it will be spread across outside of Canada. We'll see.
We'll see.
Okay. All right. So the other thing that happened recently is FSD is continuing to improve. Recently, they created a single, I don't know what the right word is, one software FSD release is basically now the same release will affect AI3 cars, AI4 cars. And now what they've done is they've got a release here where 13.2.5 is rolling out to all AI4 equipped Teslas, but includes Cybertruck and the other models. So it turned out before, there was a very separate release for Cybertruck. Everybody stayed on this. Now they've brought everybody on the same page. I don't know if this 13.2.5 has anything that's very, very new features necessarily. But
yeah, but typically typically the third number, the third point, is just fixes, not necessarily new features, although they have put new features in the past. But I think that 0.5 is simply unifying the stack across the model versions, and they had to get there, and hopefully they'll stay up there. And I think that had to do with building out the cluster sufficiently large enough that they could actually get that all out in one go. So I'm not driving my Cybertruck on this road trip. I'm driving my Model 3, my brand new Model 3.
AI4, it's great.
It is amazing. It is truly amazing. I mean, we are so close. Now, from time to time, it does some funny things in the parking lot. I think there's some rough edges in the parking lot. But other than that, it is amazing. And it's a better driver than I am.
When do you expect, so this is 13.2.5. When do you expect that they're going to do, I would guess 13.3, which would then have the 3 times, compute power?
Yeah, I have to think that they're driving 13.3 right now. and they're going through the, testing period, internal testing. That's what I believe. And typically that's a 2 to 3 month cycle. I don't know how long they've had this 13.3 out on some models. I suspect it's out on the Cybercab, that they're testing internally on the Cybercab. These are all guesses. These are just guesses.
Yeah.
And, having been in the cycle myself, in this kind of cycle myself, I know that they don't really know where they are from a numbering sequence point of view. They're working on features and functions, and they're working on a backlog of features and functions, and they're working through that backlog, and they're going to determine what number and what release as they get comfortable with the stack that they've got running at this point. So to say, have they got 13.2.5 or have they got 13.3 or have they got 14?
Yeah, we don't know.
I think that's very fluid.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Larry. Follow him on his X account, Tesla Larry. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.